Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2018 and the second part of this experiment where we're taking a look at what would happen if you put a 31 or 32 year transfer embargo on the top 6 leagues in Europe. So that's the Spanish, English, German, Italian, French and Portuguese leagues that are all under embargo. In the first part, if you missed that, go back and have a look. We went 2 years into the future. You can see the current makeup of the Premier League on the screen here. Of course, there's no transfers whatsoever taking place except for the ones that were already in existence. And today we're going to go 5 years into the future and then go back and have a look at how each season progressed for the top 6 leagues and what transfers, if any, were taking place across those leagues. I am expecting to see a lot more change in today's episode, so it should be very exciting. Today, this video is my 600th video on the channel, so that's a lot of videos. It would be absolutely unbelievable if this video could somehow hit 600 likes. It would be incredible if we could do that. So make sure you do click that like button and also subscribe, because I'm sure there's going to be 2 or 3 more parts to this series going forward. And let me know in the comments if there's something I'm not showing that you'd like to see. Just let me know down below and I'll make sure to include it next time. But let's go forward 5 years and see how the teams have got on. Well, we are 5 years into the future now. We're going to start off with the Portuguese Premier League, and as you can see, this is where the table, or what the table looked like when we left off last time. So you had Sporting Lisbon winning the title. You're obviously expecting the 3 big teams in Spain to, in Portugal to dominate this league. So Sporting, Porto and Benfica. The following season, no change there. No change next season. Finally, we see Arouca break into the top. They're only 1 point off the top there. The following season, Sporting win it again. Arouca dropping back before finally they managed to win the league. Arouca here, no doubt one of the newly promoted sides in the Portuguese league. You can see here they got relegated just before we started the experiment, promoted in second place in the first part of this experiment, and since then have flown up the league, and that is no doubt because of their transfer policy. They're not even spending that much money actually, so they're really being incredibly impressive. Given they're not spending any money to have managed to come up, they must have incredible youth players. And if we have a quick look at their senior squad here and sort them by value, you can see they do have a few players worth quite a bit of money, including João Carvalho, who I know is a very good player because I've signed him before. And they seem to have done incredibly well to win the league without spending that much money, and they will get more money for doing that. So we can already see with the Portuguese league a huge improvement there. Now if we go to France, then when we left off last time, Lyon had already broken the established order in France by beating PSG and Monaco to the top. Obviously Lyon also under a transfer embargo, so that won't be sustainable, and PSG did win it the following season. The year after that, again PSG taking the top with 98 points. Again, 98 points. 2 teams finishing on 98 points here. The 2 big spenders in France, but no other teams really breaking up there. You can see Angers and Nantes climbing the table. Following season, again, this time PSG, 35 wins from 38 games. Won it by 101 points there, 1 point ahead of Monaco. Imagine getting 100 points in a league season and not winning the title, but that is what has happened to Monaco last season. So PSG continuing to dominate here, and none of the other teams even really getting close. If we have a look at the transfers, going back to where we left off last time, you can see obviously Mbappe, pre-existing transfer. The following season though, most of the players were leaving, so the league is getting weaker because teams from Turkey, Russia and Scotland, Belgium all signing their players. So that is why PSG and Monaco are able to dominate so much. Even here, Preston, 2 of the biggest transfers in French football. Following year, again, Middlesbrough taking the biggest transfer and very few players coming in. You can see Lille actually signing a couple of players, which is interesting. And Reims also signing quite a few players. The following season, Galatasaray, the big spenders. And up to now, we've got Lorient spending a little bit of money, but France not spending the money, players mostly leaving, weakening the league, while PSG and Monaco can continue to put huge salaries into their star players to keep them there. And it will be a long time before any of the newly promoted teams can break into the top of the French table. Now, if we go to Germany next, who are ranked 4th, and have a look at how they've got on. Then when we left off last time, you can see that Bayern had won the league. with Leipzig in second place. The following season, Leverkusen won the league, 6 points clear of Bayern. Leipzig again pushing for the top. Bayern managed to win it the following season and the year after that, before Dortmund came storming back to win their first title in a long time. Not many newly promoted teams near the top. You can see Bochum climbing up the table there. And finally, Bayern win the league back yet again. So not too much movement in the German first division up to now. Big transfers at the moment are players leaving for China and various other leagues. None of the newly promoted sides spending any money. You can see Shakhtar doing well out of these situations. Trabzonspor, Ingolstadt, the second biggest transfer there. Again, players leaving. Divock Origi going from Ingolstadt to Shakhtar. I mean, when did they pick up Divock Origi? They must have got him on a free transfer. And then Guangzhou with the biggest transfer. Celtic also spending money in most of the leagues. So it'll be interesting to track how Celtic have got on in European football over the long term. If we have a look at the Italian league, Serie A, then when we left off last time, of course, Juventus winning the league, as I will expect them to do for some time. Following season, they took it again and again and again and again. You can at least see Atalanta climbing up the table. Juventus also winning it this season, but only on goal difference ahead of AC Milan, so a bit closer this time, but not much turnaround in the Italian league whatsoever, which is really disappointing that some of these leagues just not moving at all. Douglas Costa there, biggest transfer pre-existing from the season we left off. Then you had Kessie, must have been a pre-existing transfer there to AC Milan. Valencia and Wolves had a couple of players being signed. And then you had Palermo actually signing the most players at that point. Bit of changing around. Strootman leaving Roma, and Middlesbrough spending a bit of money. So they'll be interesting to track Middlesbrough. They have been spending a bit of money across the leagues up to this point. Now we can have a look at La Liga. And when we left off last time, Atletico Madrid had actually won the league just ahead of Real Madrid and Barcelona. The following season, it was Madrid that won it on 96 points. They won it the following season, 2 points clear of Atletico, and then Atletico won the La Liga yet again. Barcelona haven't won it for some time, and Celta Vigo finishing above Real Madrid. Again, Atletico winning the league, denying Real Madrid the title, before finally Barcelona have come back to win the title again. So another league without too much difference in their transfers. You can see Cancelo leaving Valencia for nearly 30 million to China. They're spending quite a bit of money, Shanghai, in the Spanish league, but not an awful lot of movement on any front. Real Madrid picking up Vinicius Jr. for 40 million, as we saw in the last episode. So let's go to England and see if the Premier League has shaken up much. Now, of course, of all these leagues, the Premier League is most likely to change because Championship clubs tend to have a lot more money, and there's so much more money for every position in the Premier League, so the newly promoted teams will be able to exert their financial impact and muscle to overturn the established order. So when we left off last time, United had won the league by 6 points over City. The following season, Chelsea took the title, 92 points. You can see Wolves finishing in 9th place, not far off the European places. The following season, Chelsea took it with 101 points, nearly going unbeaten, just one defeat in there. And the following season, they took it again. A bit of established dominance here for Chelsea. Wolves now finishing in 6th place, most likely to challenge at the top, I think. They move up another place to 5th as City steal the title, this time 1 point clear of United. And then again, City winning it by 90 points, 6 goals clear of Chelsea. Wolves dropping down to 8th, but Preston up in 6th. So you can see movement already in the Premier League. Some of these teams, I think when they hit the Champions League, will start to sign a lot of players. Now, when we left off before, you can see Preston spent 15 million on one player, Jack Grealish from Villa. Wolves are picking up players from Juventus and from Spurs. Baba Rahman, the biggest transfer out. Again, Wolves really splashing the cash the next season, signing good young players which will set them up well for the future. And the following season, again, Wolves splashing the cash, but Leeds spending 23 million on Reece Oxford. You can see Xherdan Shaqiri leaving Stoke for 36 million, but Wolves spending 29 million on a player from Preston, which is quite funny, and spending a good amount of money outside of that, including Mangala and Jones. Gaston Gomez, Clenny. I think Wolves are the team to watch here. They're most likely to really break into the top. They send Nathaniel Chalobah as well. If we just have a look at this Wolves team, then we can see by looking at their senior squad, they do seem to have some good players here. And you can see Julian Brandt, 73 million. Malcolm, 70 million. Timmerman, 60 million. They've got Belotti, Jota. They've got a very, very good team. If they aren't in the Champions League next season, there's something massively wrong. And this is the thing. They aren't just signing players for cash fees. Because there are so many free agents, they're able to pick them up when the big clubs can't sign free agents. They can't sign anyone. They are entirely dependent on their youth team, which is why maybe the transfer screen can be a little bit misleading because there are so many free transfers knocking about as well. But there's not really a good way to quantify this. I mean, you can see Icardi here going to Aston Villa, Kazawa going to Middlesbrough, and Didi's on the move as well. There are just so many players moving around on free transfers that we can't really track. So it's going to be interesting. If we take, for instance, Manchester City and look at their senior squad, currently managed by Jurgen Klopp, which is quite funny. They do still have a lot of their best players, but the squad depth drops massively after that point because they're having to bring in these 18, 19, 20-year-old players from their academy into the first team. You can see this guy here, Lloyd Howarth, worth £38 million, must be a product of their academy, and yet he's worth quite a bit of money. So we will start to see instances of players like that. Taylor Richards, another one. Phil Foden, obviously well known. Martin Allen, worth 15 million. These players will start to do well for the clubs. But let's have a look at the Europa League next. So if we start with the quarterfinals of the year that we left off, you can see Burnley were in the quarterfinals here. Managed to beat Sevilla over 2 legs, and in the semi-finals they were beaten by Leverkusen. Eventually this cup won by Leverkusen there over Roma, which is quite interesting. The following season, you can see Shakhtar, obviously you've been spending a lot of money bringing in good players, go through with Milan, Villarreal and Roma. In the semi-finals, Shakhtar did go out to Villarreal, so it was Villarreal and AC Milan, and it was won by AC Milan in the end. Not too much of a surprise that season. The following season, Spartak Moscow, another team we've seen active on the transfers in the quarterfinals but not making it through to the semis. Atletico Madrid and Valencia in the semi-finals, won by Atletico Madrid, a little bit unsurprisingly given how well they've done in Spanish football. The following season, you can see Atalanta in the quarterfinals, Shakhtar in there as well, Burnley also there again. Burnley seems to be doing well out of this. At the semi-stage, United and Shakhtar go to the final. It'd be good if Shakhtar won this, but it was United that took the Europa League home that season. And in the most recent season, you can see here Wolves in the quarterfinals for the first time. You've got Parma in here, Celta Vigo in here, Bordeaux in here. These are some more surprising teams to reach this point. But more surprisingly, Wolves did manage to beat Celta Vigo. And in the semis, actually beat Leverkusen, previous holders of this competition, to face Monaco in the final. And Wolves did win the Europa League, so they've got Champions League football next season. That's a really big shock there, because they didn't qualify through the league, but by winning the Europa League, they have managed to qualify for the Champions League. So huge success for Wolves there. Now, I'm not expecting much change in the Champions League, so we'll go through this a little bit quicker. You can see no real surprise there, except for maybe Sporting, who was spanked. And it's a City and United final, which City did manage to win there. The following season, again, Sporting and Leverkusen in there. A little bit of a change there, not too much. PSG and United in the final, and it was won by Manchester United. So Manchester clubs back-to-back titles there. Lyon are in there this time, but again, Real Madrid, Lyon, PSG and Liverpool go through. PSG and Real Madrid in the final, and it is won by Real Madrid. So the established order continuing here. Leipzig doing well to make the semis there, alongside Juventus, Valencia and Sporting. A lot more change here. This is a very different semi-final. I'm hoping Juventus don't go on to win it. And in the semis, Juventus and Leipzig go through. It'd be great if Leipzig won this, but it's Juventus who take it home. So even with 3 newer teams in the quarterfinals, they couldn't do it, or in the semi-finals. The following season, Shakhtar have made this far. Schalke also a new team popping in there, but not getting through. In the semis, Schalke knocked out by Bayern, and it's a United Bayern final, which was won by Bayern Munich. So across the past winners here, you can see that this was a replay of the first final we had in this experiment. United have taken home 2, Madrid have taken home 2, 1 for City, 1 for Juve, and 1 for Bayern Munich. So not a massive shake-up of the established order in the Champions League at this point, which is a little bit disappointing. The final thing that we will have a look at is the World Cup. I mean, we're not going to see too much change here because there aren't a lot of regens around. And as you can see, France won it in 2018, Italy in 2022. If we just go back to the 2018 quarter-finals and see which teams were there, you can see Hungary, Spain, Brazil and France. It's obviously way too early to really tell. And in the final, it was won by France over Brazil. And then in the most recent World Cup, you have got Mexico in here. Nigeria made it this far, but Portugal, Mexico, Italy and Spain went through. In the semis, Portugal and Italy made it to the final, and it was won by Italy in extra time. So that's the World Cup as well. I think that will be it for this part of this experiment. That was quite a lot of information. Let me know if you thought that was a good way to do this format, or if you'd like to try a different one. And like I said, it would be fantastic if we could hit 600 likes today for my 600th video on this channel. That is a lot of Football Manager. Make sure to subscribe for the next part in a couple of days' time. But until next time, see ya.